This is the 2020 Lotus Evora GT. It's the highest performing road legal variant of the Evora sports car to date. It has more power, more downforce, and crucial for a Lotus, added lightness compared to the previous model. So let's hit the road and see what this thing's all about. You join me inside the 2020 Lotus Evora GT. This is the highest performing, most powerful road legal Evora we've seen in the United States to date. So what they've done is they've added more horsepower. The 3.5 liter supercharged Toyota V6 now produces 416 horsepower. In typical Lotus form, they've also added lightness. This car, well, Lotus isn't giving exact numbers, but it's about 50 pounds lighter than the outgoing 2019 Evora. And if you're actually very careful with the options list, you can get this thing down to just over 3,100 pounds versus about 3,200 for the previous car. It also produces a lot more downforce. Lotus claims this thing produces 141 pounds of downforce at its top speed, which in this car with the manual transmission is 188 miles an hour. The Evora GT rolls on some serious footwear. The front wheels measure 19 by 8 and the rear's 20 by 9 with 245/35 and 295/30 section width Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2 rubber respectively. Now the big news here is that added lightness comes from a massive infusion of carbon fiber. Out of the box, the front hood, front fender, side skirts, and optionally the roof panel and rear hatch are all made of that single-sided carbon fiber goodness. I can see it right now under the bright green paint this particular car has. With the stick, the Evora gets 17 mpg city, 26 mpg freeway, and 20 mpg combined. But besides the tweaks for 2020, let's talk about the Evora sports car itself. You know, this is my first time in an Evora, which is what Lotus claims to be their friendliest road-going car they've ever produced, at least thus far. It technically has 4 seats, though the seats in the back are really for just a small bag and nothing more. The 2 front seats are carbon fiber backed racing bucket seats. I think they're pretty comfortable, but it's a kind of a tight fit in here, as you'd expect from a small sports car. You know, I'm 6'1", I have a little bit of headroom, but width-wise, it's a little bit tight in here. But again, small, British-built sports car. What do you expect? Other ergonomic things to note is that this seat is in the lowest position, and I wish it went about an inch or 2 lower. While I do have enough headroom here, it does limit my outward visibility because the windshield line of this car is quite low. Everything else, I think it's pretty nice. The controls all fall to hand quite naturally. The steering wheel's position's quite nice. The steering wheel itself is quite nice. The 6-speed manual transmission with the shifter is very good. The clutch is very easy to operate, though you'll notice when you get in an Evora, the pedal box is shifted notably to the right. Everything is way over here to the right side, which makes it kind of weird at first when you get into it. The clutch is where you'd expect the brake to be, for perspective. Now, Lotus went on at some length about the connected feel of this car, and they said you can feel the Lotus DNA and the heritage of the brand in this car. And I think for the most part, they're on the money there. I mean, it's a $100,000 mid-engine sports car with a focus on being lightweight and connected, and they kind of did the job there. This magnesium steering wheel feels really connected. It's nice and thin, but the grips are in the right spot. It gives you excellent road feel. I mentioned it before, but the engine behind me is a 3.5 liter Toyota V6, which Lotus slaps an Edelbrock supercharger onto to get that 416 horsepower figure. I think it sounds fabulous in this configuration. It has a bimodal exhaust, which is configurable by the standalone exhaust button or the 4 different drive modes. It sounds really nice when you're hammering in a canyon road, but it's also surprisingly quiet if you back off and put it in the quieter drive modes. This is absolutely a livable sports car, at least if your day-to-day commute does involve some amount of canyon road driving or you live in sunny California like this. Now my co-driver here has made a good point in that GT may as well stand for gobs of torque. Because out of the box, the 3.5 liter Toyota V6 is a nice little engine. It's very smooth and picks up very nicely. But when you bolt on a supercharger, it has the effect of feeling like you just made a much larger engine. It has nice torque everywhere in the power band. It kind of just picks up nicely and goes. Now there are two transmissions available for the Evora GT. There's a 6-speed manual and a 6-speed automatic, also from the Toyota parts bin, though Lotus claims they changed the gear ratios of the transmissions for Evora purposes. With the 7,000 RPM redline of this engine, the gearing actually feels a little bit on the long side. But that's okay, because it actually gives the car incredible traction as a result. Because second gear can go to 80 miles an hour, it doesn't have any problems with really quick gearing and wheel spin or anything like that. It makes for a pretty approachable sports car, which if you think mid-engine Lotus sports car, you wouldn't naturally think, oh, a nice, friendly, easy-to-drive road car, but that seems to be the case here. Naturally, being a new car, by law, it has stability control and ABS and all that stuff. So, if you want to drive it gently, or if you're a novice driver, it kind of has you covered there. And I have to revisit the interior for a second, because I want to talk about the instrumentation on this car. Very clear, easily legible. It just makes, you can look at it at a glance, like when you're driving, and interpret everything you need to know. Though of note, I cannot find any sort of engine temperature gauge, whether it be oil pressure, or coolant in this car. I think that's kind of a miss for a Focus-built sports car that Lotus routinely mentions the track day prowess of. Not having any sort of temperature gauge, that seems like a miss. The Evora GT has a base price of $96,600, which is $2,200 more than the outgoing 2019 Evora 400. However, Lotus claims this new model offers a theoretical $12,000 price value over the old car due to the increased carbon fiber usage. This particular test car, however, has almost every single option, excluding the automatic transmission, obviously, and that's where things get tricky. That includes the carbon pack, which makes the roof, rear hatch panel, side sills, and interior bits out of the ultra lightweight material, and it costs 10 grand to do so. Those forged wheels are optional too, as is the Alcantara interior trimming, bespoke stitching, vivid green interior color match, the exterior paint itself, those exterior paint stripes, the upgraded sound system. All of that adds another $12,650 for the nitty-gritty details there. Don't forget the $8,000 titanium exhaust either, as well as the $1,995 destination charge. Out the door, this thing costs $129,595. Ouch. This perhaps explains why Lotus sold just 228 Evoras in the US last year. And that puts Lotus in a tough spot, because this thing is clearly aimed right at the Porsche Cayman GT4. The Evora is a pure, exciting driver's car, but at that price point, it's just too costly for most people to stomach, especially as you start to poke around and really get in the nitty-gritty of things. I mean, that Alpine head unit must have looked great 20 years ago, but now, not so much. And when you consider it against models like the Porsche Cayman GT4 with its excellent PDK transmission, the optional Toyota Source 6-speed automatic in the Evora feels low rent. Still, if you're exorbitantly wealthy and want a standout car that no one else will have, Lotus is ready for you. So there it is. The Evora is capable, comfortable, compliant, and very fast on a winding road, and absolutely ready to take on the track day as well. Now, all Lotus needs is for you to buy them, because the more they sell of these things, the sooner the Evora hypercar comes out. Thanks for watching. Bye.